Maggie returns to the bedroom and lies down on the bed. In the kitchen, Mr. Oak and Mr. Quill continue to inspect the gas cooker. Their white coveralls are anonymous looking, but tendrils of weed are visible around the cuffs of Mr. Oak's sleeves, trailing down his arms. Smiling, Mr. Oak produces a pair of white gloves like those Mr. Quill is wearing and puts them on. Together they move through the study and open the patio door. The terrace is swamped with pulsing foam and seaweed. Oak and Quill exchange delighted glances as the foam begins to rise up, spilling over the step and into the house. Unable to sleep, Maggie gets up and sits at the dressing table, intending to comb her hair.
What are you doing in here? Is there something that you want?
Out on the beach, the outlet valve vents the excess of gas.
It's down. The pressure in the pipeline is back to normal.
Unkalefalak. I wouldn't have thought you could possibly have done it in the tunnel.
When you have too much gas in the tube, you release it. Didn't they teach you that much in evening classes back at The Hague, Mr. Van Lutyens? Contact Chief Baxter at Control Rig, will you? Tell him the immediate crisis is over. Oh, and contact the other rig chiefs, will you?
But the feed out to the receiving stations is still dropping. The impeller is still slowing down.
What's the matter with you, Van Lutyens? You've been trying to teach me my job ever since you came here. I've been drilling for gas in the North Sea for most of my life. I don't need people like you or Harris to teach me how to do it.
Mr. Robson's up.
It's sea rig, sir. I can't raise them. No response at all.
Maggie, I brought the doctor.
Oh, no! It's
I smell gas. There's gas in this house. Doctor, in here!
Harris discovers his wife lying on the bedroom floor.
Give me the window! Give me a hand. Maggie!
Back in the control hall, Price has been unable to re-establish contact with the rig.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't raise them.
Well, are you pleased with what you have done?
I'm warning you, Van Lutyens.
I warned you, but you were too kupak, too stubborn to listen. Look at the facts, man. The facts. We lose contact with two rigs. Have unprecedented, inexplicable pressure variations for over 3 weeks.
Oh, so that's it. You've been talking with Harris, eh?
Yeah, Mr. Harris did show me his figures. Only because you refused to listen to him. That's why I went out to the control rig, to see if there was an explanation out there.
And what did you find? Nothing. I'll tell you why. Because there's nothing to find.
All the same, Mr. Harris's figures
A
are...
bunk! Like the rest of his tuppence-halfpenny tidbit ideas. Still a schoolkid with his bits of paper and his graph and his slide rule. Do you think I'm going to take any notice of him? I know every nut and bolt on every one of those rigs out there.
All right. So your prejudice prevents you accepting Mr. Harris's calculations, but what about me? Do you treat my opinion with as much contempt?
You are here to offer me your expert advice, but I'm not obliged to take it. I run this outfit the way I think fit. Is that understood?
Mr. Robson, the impeller. Quick, 2 men. Down to 140 revs. Something must be jamming it at the base.
Robson and Van Lutyens watch as the impeller slows before their eyes.
Well, Mr. Robson, where do we go from here? Come on now, you have all the answers, don't you?
Wait a minute, quiet.
What is it?
I think I can hear something.
Is she dead?
Oh, no. What's the matter with her? Well, she's in some sort of coma. Possibly because of this gas. It was toxic. It isn't possible there could have been a gas leak in the flat. Besides, natural gas isn't toxic.
Well, this isn't natural gas. This is the gas we found when Victoria was locked in the oxygen room.
But where could it have come from?
I don't know. What was the matter with her before this happened?
Well, she said she'd been stung by some seaweed or something.
Seaweed?
I asked her to get a file from my study, and she found the seaweed inside it.
Did you put it there?
Well, no, of course not.
There's no marks or abrasion.
No.
Doctor? What's this?
What? Oh. It's a seaweed. What's he doing in here? Well, it's still wet.
Perhaps it's the same sort that Maggie was talking about.
No, don't touch it.
Why?
Well, in the first place, you don't want to get stung like your wife, do you? And in the second place, whoever put it in your file meant you to touch it.
But that's ridiculous. Wait a minute. I was sure I put that file in my briefcase this morning, but it wasn't there when I went to get it. I was on my way home when I met Maggie. But why? Why should anyone want me to get stung by a piece of seaweed?
Well, I hate the stuff. So slimy and horrid.
Oh, go away. You've seen seaweed before, haven't you? There's loads of it down by the pipeline this morning.
By the pipeline?
Aye, the place is overrun with it.
Well, not like that. It didn't move.
Move?
Van Lutyens is in his office, studying a layout of the refinery. With a sigh, he rises and returns to the impeller room.
I want them all checked. Every remote control release valve on the line. And check and double-check all those circuits.
Excuse me, Chief. Could I have a word with you, please?
Yes, of course.
The impeller is still not functioning, yeah?
No, it's not.
And that sound we heard, have you heard it again?
No. As Mr. Robson says, it's probably just a mechanical fault.
Do you believe that?
Well, it's really not my job to...
Oh, come on, man. You're the chief engineer. The impeller is your responsibility.
It's not my job to formulate theories. It's Mr. Robson's.
Robson, what's the matter with you? Are you frightened of him or something?
No, Mr. Van Lutyens. I just respect his judgment.
Well, I'm sorry, Chief. Could I have a word with you in private?
Well,
It's important.
Somewhat reluctantly, the chief engineer follows Van Lutyens through to the relative privacy of the control hall.
Check the feed valve.
I've been looking at the installation plan and the impeller intake valve in particular. And I think I know where the blockage may be.
All right.
Well, this valve is at the base of the main shaft and leads directly to the intake, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as far as I can see, there is no point between that valve and the control rig where a blockage could occur big enough to stop the impeller.
Apart from the undersea emergency valve.
But you've got remote control observation on those and they are free, yeah?
Hmm.
So the impeller intake must be at fault.
It's possible.
Possible, man, is the only answer. What we have to do is to go down and free that valve.
Well, I'll have to check with Mr. Robson.
Robson! What's the matter with you? Are you children? Can't you do anything on your own initiative?
Look, I can't send men down there without his approval.
Can you also not blow your nose without approval?
Now, listen to me, Mr. Van Lutyens. I've worked with Mr. Robson a long time. We were out there on those rigs together in the early days. You may think he's wrong to run this place the way he does, but I trust him. And I take orders from him purely because I trust his judgment. No other reason.
All right, I'm sorry, Chief. I shouldn't have said that. You forgive me, yeah? Now, what I would like you to do is to go to Mr. Robson and say, we think we know where the blockage is, and get official permission to inspect the base of the shaft.
Just a minute, that's your theory, that's not mine.
That's the only possibility. Anyway, that sound you heard, it must have come from the base of the shaft.
Well, if the main valve were open, it could be an echo from any one of those rigs.
If it is open, but you do not know that it is open, and you will not know till you go down and check.
Well, I suppose I could put it to him.
You're not going to tell me that that is a mechanical fault.
I'll go and see him.
He's in his cabin.
The chief engineer has scarcely set off before he encounters Robson in the corridor.
Chief! What's the matter? Mr. Robson, that noise from the impeller, it started again. I think we should go down and check the main constant. Oh, you do you? Well, that's where we think the blockage is. We? Oh, Mr. Van Lutyens. Yes, I thought he'd get his nose in. Come on. You lot, get back to work. Mr. Van Lutyens, I want to talk to you.
Mr. Robson, there is something alive in the pipeline.
You're out of your mind. There's nothing down there.
I promise you, sir, I did hear something.
You've been unnerving my crew. Now you, get out.
Listen.
That's it? Did you hear what I said?
Don't speak now. Listen, will you? It's down there. In the darkness. In the pipeline. Waiting.
In Harris's bedroom, Jamie bends down to examine the lump of weed on the carpet.
No, Jamie, don't touch it. But it's only a bit of seaweed. Yes. Unless it really did move, like Victoria said.
Oh, how can it move? It's not a living thing, is it?
Everything in the sea is living, Jamie.
Well, it did move. It gave me a shock. It was like a spider.
Yes, well, we're not taking any chances. Hold that for me, will you?
What's this for?
You're going to take a closer look at this weed. I'll bring the bag down here, right onto the floor. That's it. Now, don't let it touch your fingers. Careful. Slowly does it. Mind your fingers. There.
What are you going to do with it?
We're going to see if an ordinary piece of seaweed really can move.
Doctor, my wife, will she be all right?
Oh, yes, I think so, yes. I don't think there's any panic, but I'd get her under medical supervision if I were you.
Yes, I'll go back to the Medicare Centre at the compound and arrange for her to be taken in there.
Yes, you do that.
Poor man.
Aye. Hey! I thought we were supposed to be prisoners.
Yes. So did I. We better make the most of it. Got a lot of work to do back at the TARDIS. She seems to be sleeping peacefully. Come on.
The doctor and his companion set off, unaware that tendrils of weed have already started growing down Maggie's arms. In the impeller room, the chief engineer is perplexed by the strange noises in the shaft.
What is it? That sound.
It's uncanny. It's like a heartbeat.
Stopped again.
Well, this is surely proof enough.
Proof?
There's something down there blocking the impeller.
Rubbish. Hysterical nonsense.
But you heard it, that dreadful sound.
I heard a fault in the base of the impeller.
But the impeller isn't working. Don't you believe a thing until you see it?
I want that pump operational in half an hour. Now get to it.
Returning to the TARDIS, which has been conveniently washed up on the beach, the doctor sets Victoria to work, testing a sample of the weed. Jamie watches as the doctor places the remaining seaweed in a glass tank and prepares an experiment of his own.
What are you doing, Doctor?
Well, you see, Jamie, these two cylinders contain a small amount of natural gas. It should be quite interesting to see what sort of effect it has on the weed. How are you doing, Victoria?
I don't know. I think you ought to have a look.
Oh, yes. Well, that's got the natural iron content.
Well, I did the Bunsen test like you told me, but I found something which worries me.
Oh, yes, I'm not surprised. Is this hot?
No.
You see this rusty stuff here?
Yes.
Well, it means that the weed's giving out a gas, probably toxic.
Toxic?
Jamie is peering into a microscope and interrupts before the doctor can explain.
Hey, Doctor, what are these little wriggly things in the weed?
Well, just a minute, Jamie. I'm just looking at little wriggly things. Where?
Here, look in there.
Jamie, this is it. There's molecular movement. Come and see, Victoria. There. Why, that's amazing.
What does that mean?
It means, Jamie, that the weed is just as much alive as you and me.